If you win money from gambling, how do you report that? Do you report everything that you won, or do you subtract the amount that it cost you to participate in gambling? Can you use your losses to offset the amount that you won when filing your taxes? These are some questions that I've been asked a lot recently, and I'm actually working on some cases with people who gamble who have been audited by the IRS. And I'm working on cases with people who have received notices because their gambling income did not get reported the right way. But here's the thing and why I'm doing this video. Even last week, a fellow tax practitioner, an EA even, reached out to me and they said, "Hey, I'm reading these instructions on how to report gambling income and the losses, but they're kind of confusing." So for me, a light bulb went off and I was like, "Hey, if my fellow tax practitioner doesn't know how to handle this, the average taxpayer isn't going to know how to handle it either." So that's why I'm creating this video. I'm going to cover how you should report your gambling income and losses. And I'm also going to let you know that you should report all of your winnings. If you're new here, my name is Timlin Bowens, and I'm America's favorite EA. I'm also the owner of Bowens Tax Solutions, which is a virtual firm based in Louisville, Kentucky, and we work with taxpayers who owe the IRS roughly $100,000. They're being audited or actively being levied, which means the IRS is all up in their bank account, taking what they want, or they're taking their paycheck. All right? But that's not going to happen to you because you're here right now watching this video. Now, when it comes to gambling winnings, anything that you earn, if you want to call it earning or the luck of the draw, blessed, anything you get from gambling, the IRS wants you to report that as income, every single red cent. Okay. Now, if you reach a certain threshold, let's say you're an online gambler and you have winnings from FanDuel, right? They're going to issue you something very similar to what employers issue. Employers send out a W 2. These different gambling platforms should send you out what's called a W 2G, which just means the earnings are from gambling. Now, with this income, you won't pay Social Security and Medicare like your typical wages, but there should be some tax withheld. This is considered ordinary income, and you are going to be taxed at your ordinary rate. Now, when we're looking at losses, and maybe maybe you consider yourself a professional gambler, there are going to be requirements and different criteria that the IRS is going to have you meet. And here's the reason why. If you are a professional gambler, any money that you spend towards being able to win that money, you are going to be able to deduct, which simply means you are going to be able to subtract those costs from your winnings. So, for example, let's say that you won $60,000, right? But you spent 10,000 to make that 60. Well, if you're a professional gambler, that 10,000 is going to be considered your business cost to win that 60. So you're going to be able to have the 60 that you report, subtracting the 10 in expenses, and then be taxed on the 50,000. Okay, and this income will go on a Schedule C. That is the schedule for business income and expenses. But if you're your everyday gambler who just does lottery tickets, maybe you do a few things online, or maybe you are hardcore at the casinos, but you're not a professional, then you cannot deduct any cost associated with your gambling. But here's what you can do. You can deduct your losses. But here's the caveat. Only taxpayers who itemize their deductions are allowed to use their losses as a deduction. All right. So if you're single in 2024, I believe the amount's close to 13,900. You have that much in a standard deduction. So if you have losses in more than that amount, then you are able to deduct them. If you have winnings more than that amount. So here's the thing. Because gambling income is not earned, it has to follow the same rules as a hobby expense. And what the IRS says under the TCJA, which is the Tax Cut and Job Act, you cannot have more hobby losses than you have income. So, in the example that I used earlier, let's say that you had $60,000 in winnings, but you had $100,000 in losses. Well, the IRS is going to say, too bad, so sad. You can only use up to $60,000 in those losses because it's considered a hobby if you're not a professional. So you can completely wipe out the money that's been earned with the losses, but you cannot lower your taxable income by more than what those winnings were. Okay, so it's just as if it never happened, but it's not going to put you in a better position with the losses. Does that make sense? Now, one thing concept where people get confused, they think if I have these losses and the casino or whoever has given me this information, the IRS has the same information. So I don't have to actually put it on the tax return because it's a wash. That's mistake number one. You need to make sure that when the casino gives you your W 2G, and look at every statement they give you because it may not look like your traditional W 2. It may be a statement and then it says substitute W 2G or it just says W 2G on it. You're going to want to make sure you report that income because that document is also going to the IRS. Then they'll also send you a statement with your losses. Now, here's the thing, they're only sending that statement to you. The IRS does not have a copy of that. So, what will happen is the IRS will know that you made the money, but they don't know that you lost any money. So, if you don't report that, the IRS is slow, not stupid. Maybe not that same year, but within the next year or two, they will reach out to you and send you a notice to say, hey, you underreported your income. And then once you look and say, hey, I did have that, what will happen is they will assess tax based on what wasn't reported. And then you'll also get charged with penalties as well. You can avoid that whole process by making sure that you do it right the first time and that you report all of your gambling winnings and also report the losses on Schedule A with your itemized deductions. And this is the federal level only. Different states have their own rules for how they handle gambling losses. Okay. Now, if you have any questions about this, make sure that you let me know down in the comments. Or if you'd like more information, I also wrote an article around the time of the Super Bowl about how to report your gambling winnings. Okay. Now, if you're in that predicament right now where you know you have the losses, you didn't report your winnings, but you know that you're in deep with the IRS because you've already started receiving those letters, you can book a call with me at www.bowenstaxsolutions.com. I'll make sure the link is down in the description and you can set up a 15-minute call with me to see if you're a good fit to work with me at Bowen's Tax Solutions so we can get this tax issue resolved for you, right? Because nobody ever wants to pay more in taxes than what they actually owe. And if you're doing this while gambling, taxes probably aren't your thing. So it's one of those things where you may want to just go ahead and let us or another tax professional handle that for you. But here's the thing, you have to take the first step and make that call. So let me know what your questions are down below. But if you already know you'd like to work with me because you want to get this issue resolved quickly before they issue a lien or levy your account, then go ahead and book that call.